guys. I'm Jennifer Powell, and I am an influencer manager. I traditionally was a model agent, and I have done that for 19 years, actually. And about 9 years ago, I was working at Next Management for 13 years now. And 9 years ago, I was just traditionally handling models, and a girl named Rumi Neely came to see me, and she had this little photo diary called Fashion Toast. And I sat and I talked to her, and she said, people keep sending me clothing, and I put them on my photo diary, and the pieces sell out. And so I think that there's money to be made here. And I said, I don't understand what you're doing. Like, this makes 0 sense to me. But what I do know is how much money the brands that are sending you clothing pay models. So let's take those rates and apply it to like these posts that you're doing and see what happens. So because I had all the relationships for this long, I've been a model agent for 120 years. That I was speaking to the brands, and I said, okay, why don't we try this? Just try this for this amount of money and see what happens. So it started converting, and it started making money, and they could see the ROI, and so it was a super exciting time. I mean, it was like 9 years ago, and nobody had heard of this. And so for about 2 years, I just had Rumi. She was like my little side project to see how this went, and it worked. And Next didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, this is my side hustle. Like, I was handling this on the side and seeing how it went, and it became a thing. And then I got Chiara Ferrani from the Blonde Salad, and I translated her from the Italian market that she had been, like the luxury clients knew who she was, like the luxury brands, but I brought her to the US and made her mass, and that's what happened here. Her and her adorable little boyfriend at the time, Riccardo Polizzi. And then after I got Chiara, I got Jules from Sincerely Jules, and Danielle Bernstein from We Were What, and Christina Bazan from Kaye, and all these really cool, inspiring girls. And so after a while, I realized that I was no longer a model agent, but I was helping like these very cool, inspiring, entrepreneurial women build their businesses. And so a couple of years ago, the president of Next LA was like, Jen, this isn't what you do anymore. You don't handle models. I want you to just handle influencers and build this out and see what happens. And it was really hard because fashion is my first love. Like, I love breaking a new model. I love going along that journey with a young girl. But what's more inspiring to me now is handling entrepreneurial women that inspire me. Like, really great, kind, just excellent women. It makes my life better and more full. So I was actually really grateful that he kind of kicked me in the butt and like moved me on to just influencer management. So that's what I've been doing for, well, I guess 9 years now. So the brands have always come to me because they knew. I taught a lot of them how to use digital influencers because a lot of them didn't know what was going on. A lot of them still don't know what's going on, let's be honest. Like, I've been building out programs for brands for years. I've been teaching them what they need to do, the different platforms that they need to engage with, and they've listened, and they've also, like, I've worked with a lot of the PR agencies to figure out strategy for the different brands that they've been handling. And so they all kind of come to me to ask me, like, what's next? What are we doing? Like, what should we be doing? Do you have any ideas? And so a lot of what I've been doing is pitching and going out and coming up with cool ideas and bringing them to the brands. So I guess that's my background. So I kind of understand where you guys are in like the monetization of your platforms. I think that in the beginning it's fairly intimidating because it's like, what are my rates? How do I negotiate this contract? Like, what am I doing? And you guys as creatives, a lot of you guys, like these amazing content creators, it's like, how do you know what to charge and what to talk about and how to connect with them? I was in New York this week, and I was watching a panel with a couple of my girls on it, and what was interesting to me is what's worked for a lot of them is just figuring out what those brands are that really speak to you and and this is what I kind of do with the girls too. I'm like, make a dream list. Like, make a list from, like, if it's Prada to, like, whatever it is, all the way down to figuring out the categories that might not be beauty and fashion, but are still part of a lifestyle. Fiji water, like, all of these things that make, that they're looking to use fashion influencers and people that make beautiful content, but they're trying to make their brand sexy. You guys make their brand sexy, is what it comes down to. And then my girls were DMing a lot of these different either PR companies or the brands directly, and they really do respond to the DMing and reaching out. I've worked with Revolve for a very long time, actually, since they started, because I was booking models for them. And then I did their first influencer contract with Rumi, like 7 or 8 years ago. And this is obviously before, like, the big Revolve house in the Hamptons and, like, everything that's happening now. But Raisa was speaking the other day, and she said a lot of people do reach out to her over DM, and she reads them. However, the presentation is everything. A lot of them have reached out to Raisa and they're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm going to Bali, I need this, and this. And there's like, no thank you, there's not like who you are and anything. And Raisa's got a bottom line too. She has people that she has to have to answer to when she's sending out free clothes, sending girls on trips and things like that. So I think like the number one thing that I took my takeaway from my conversation with Raisa the other day is like how to present yourself. You need to be kind and gracious and grateful and treat these guys how you want them to treat you as well. And I know it's like cheesy, it's like the stuff I teach my kid, but it's all of those things mean something. It's like super meaningful for you to come out and introduce yourself. And then after you start engaging with them, make sure you have your press kit ready, like your media kit. You can make one, you guys all know, like on your computer or whatever. For me, if I open up a press kit that's 75 pages, I want to kill myself. Like, it is not good. Like, my brain turns off after 2. Like, 2 pages, I'm like, all right, moving on. But so what I can suggest is, like, when you're figuring out how to present yourself to these brands, is when you reach out, you have to be gracious and like lovely, and they have to want to work with you, and you want them to work with you a lot. So be somebody that they want to work with a lot. Make your press kit, I suggest no more than 2 pages. Your bio is important, your analytics are important. If you can, do your insights all the time. Try to figure out who your audience is. Try to sell yourself to those brands, but also have like an aspirational element. Everybody needs to be inspired as well. I think there's a lot of great ways to figure out what your analytics are. A lot of the brands now, it drives me nuts, they're looking for conversion, like what your conversion is. It's hard to figure that out. For me, like as an agent, nobody ever wants to tell me about the success of a campaign, because then they know that I'm going to ask for more money. So they're like, they don't give me very much on the back end at all as far as sales go. But what I could tell you is like the resources like Reward Style and that they have that they can provide you. And if you work with people like Chloe Digital, a lot of times they can definitely help you figure out your conversion, and also different things that can be helpful in selling yourself and creating your media kit and press kit that you could use to present to these brands. And if you must put like a lot of press, put it on your site somewhere. Like have your press link on the top, because that is something that is really important. Like for the girls that I represent, things changed after they got press. Now, so you guys know, you probably already know this, but press doesn't pay you anything. Unless you're doing a branded deal with like Condé Nast or Hearst or something like that, you're not getting paid for press. Somebody wants to interview you and it's on a little site that nobody's ever heard of, like do it. It's all super helpful. Or support one another. Like do interviews of each other on your sites and support one another. Everything changed, I think really, everything changed for me in management after I put Kiara on the cover of Spanish Vogue and on the cover of Lucky magazine and on the cover of Cosmo. All of those changed the way that she was seen in a traditional fashion world at those moments. Like, it drives me nuts because being in a traditional fashion, like I started in traditional fashion where everybody thought print was the most important thing in the freaking world, and now they understand that digital is. But it really made her, it validated what I was doing in a traditional sense when the girls got print coverage. These days, I don't know that it's as important, but I think that press is really super important for you guys, and especially when you're going out to brands, to have like the support of press behind you is a really good thing. The other thing I could tell you is like find your differentiator. Like when you're creating content, like figure out what makes you different. I had a girl come to see me and she showed me her feed and it was beautiful and she had like this hot bod and the whole thing and like she shot beautiful photographs. But then I said, like, what's your day job? Like, what else do you do? And she's like, I'm a venture capitalist. I sit on the board of like 5 different businesses. And I'm like, hold the fort. I'm like, you just made yourself so interesting to me. Like, you are a boss. That is amazing. And I said, tell that story. Like, tell the story of being that woman. I think that your outfit post probably will do the best. Like, don't like get me wrong or anything. But if you bring in that element of who you actually are, I think that it's really exciting and inspiring and could be what connects or definitely makes you different. Like for me, my differentiator as being a model agent was actually figuring out that I was not so much a model agent anymore, but an influencer manager. And so figure out what that differentiator is for you. And I think that that could be really super meaningful. Let's see, what else? I think that back to like pricing and figuring out what like you charge these brands, it's really hard. Like there's all of these different like like X plus Y equals Z and that's how much you should be charging. I don't necessarily buy into that. I think that what could be really helpful is when you sign up for the platforms such as like Forward Card or Reward Style or anything like that you're getting branded deals or signing up for branded deals and seeing what you end up confirming, it kind of gives you an idea of where you fall into. The luxury brands don't pay as much. The mass brands pay more. You have to kind of figure out what your priorities are and like where you want your brand to go, but also don't be afraid. Like I feel like everybody is very worried about protecting your brand and I think you should, but I think anybody that is a great content creator can make anything chic. Like Danielle Bernstein, I'm like, okay girl, like we're gonna do this and it's a mass brand and she's like, oh, I got this. Like, and she shoots it and I'm like, you made that look so expensive and it sells out on Pretty Little Thing and everybody's happy and it's like all great. So I think that if you're like truly a great content creator, that you can make pretty much anything chic. That being said, you do need to stay on brand, but make sure the content that you shoot is on brand. Also, when you're signing contracts and negotiating these things, it's imperative that you don't sign off on anything in perpetuity. Don't do that because this will come back to haunt you for the rest of your life. Like if you're shooting content and somebody's able to repost it and then use it in their advertising campaign 10 years from now, like you just don't want to leave those opportunities open for things like that to happen. I can't tell you how many girls have sat down with me and they show me the contracts that they've actually executed and I'm like, oh dear. Like this is something that you've created a conflict in denim, in beauty, in watches, in jewelry, in all of these categories that are really, that care about you having campaigns running with other people. Like these things can come back to haunt you when you're ready to do long-term contracts, like contracts that are gonna be for 6 months or a year. They ask, has she done a denim brand in the last 6 months? You're like, no, and all of a sudden there's something that's on a website that people see. It could definitely take you off the market in those categories. So be really careful when you're doing that. I know if you don't have a manager yet, like it's hard to know and read through those contracts. I feel like for one Instagram post, people are setting like 15-page contracts these days, and you're like, my brain just exploded, like I can't deal with this. But find somebody that can help you, whether it be like an attorney, a dad, like anything, a friend that can help you read through these. Just get a second set of eyes on them to make sure you're not giving away something that could be detrimental in your future. I think about management, I mean, I always tell the girls that come see me, like, you don't need me until you need me, like, every day, all night, like my son. Like, you don't need to be giving away money until you actually need to do that because it's not manageable. I think that, like, you could bring on interns and assistants and bring on people that can help you manage your workload and execution. I feel like execution is really difficult if you're trying to create. You still have your day job. You have all of these things going on, and it's really difficult to manage. But until you need management every single day, like, I wouldn't bring it on. It is important. And eventually, if this does become a business for you, you're going to need a manager, and it's we're necessary. It's important down the line for the structure of your business. But I think that until that time period comes where it's just not manageable, hold on to that 15%. Keep it in your pocket. Reinvest it, like, into your business, and you don't need it until you really, really need it. When you do need a manager, though, that's when you have to go. There's a lot of us now. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing a really great job, I think, in this space. You need to figure out what your priority is in going to a manager. Is it really just them handling your incoming workflow? Is it trying to make a list of things that you want to do and, like, going out and pitching? You have to figure out what your expectation is. For me, at this point, I left Next 2 months ago, and where I see your business is going is, yes, I will always manage the ambassadorships and the transactional stuff. I'm not so much a transactional agent anymore. I want to build businesses around the platforms that you've already created. Like, I want to look at your platform and say, killer, we've got this. This is the age range. This is kind of this is the salary that these guys receive. Like, let's try to figure out what the next move is. Is it a capsule collection? Is it a jewelry line? Is it your shoe line? Is it cosmetics? Like, really, what are we doing? Is it home? Like, where are we taking this? When you're done doing 500 Instagrams a day and sitting front row at shows, do you have a sustainable business? And that's really what's exciting to me, and, like, what I want for the talent that I represent, as long as that's what their goal is, obviously. But I think that there's a way for you guys to make the foundation of your social and the fact that you could make such beautiful content into sustainable businesses. And at the beginning, it's cranking out, like, the brand deals and things like that. But then it's like, okay, cool. So we have a great relationship with AG Denim. What else can we do? Like, let's pitch the capsule collection. Let's pitch, like, a really cool fashion film moment. Like, if you do video, like, let's pitch things that are really interesting, like interesting ways of engaging with these brands and different ways of engaging with them, not just social, which is a great way to start. But it's like, and then you find that you really, like, connect with this brand, your audience really connects, and it's like, let's build this into something bigger. What else can we do? So those are the things that are really, like, interesting to me, because they help create your sustainable business and make it, you know, hopefully something that then you're able to launch your own denim one day, or whatever it may be. You could at least try to do a capsule collection and figure out if that's the direction you want to go in, if you want to build your business in that direction. So I think those are my tips. I don't know. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, you said when you're not represented by a manager that you can reach out to the brands directly.
Absolutely.
Can you give just an example script of what
Okay.
you would say?
Absolutely. I think that they really like it. Like, that's why they reach out to you guys directly too, and that's why they try to go around me and directly to the girls I represent too, which is totally, so you guys, you have an advantage by maybe not having a manager and going directly to the brand. So it's like, hi, I'm Jennifer Powell. I'm an influencer. This is my site. This is my, like, you give all of, like, your information. I love your brand. I think what you guys are doing is really interesting. Whether I'm going on vacation and I'd love to either do something for trade or borrow the clothes to be able to shoot editorial and send it back to you. I really want to start a relationship with you. It doesn't have to be super formal, because I find in fashion when people are too formal, I'm like, ooh, like, what is that? Like, it's scary. It's a little intimidating for me because I'm just a person. I'm like, so I think that just being really friendly and kind and sharing who you are, what you do, what you have done, what you'd love to do with them, what you think is great about that, what do you think is great about that brand? They love it. They love hearing what's great about them, their brand. I love hearing what's great about me. So I would think that, so do that friendly, that sort of stuff. Yeah?
The other question is, what is the minimum level of experience that you can have to go reach out to these brands? And the other thing is, do you always have to do something free first?
I think that I think, and it hurts my heart as an agent to say it, but yes, I think that that's good. I think that the brand wants to see that you organically love it. And for me, like my girls, Jules doesn't want to do a one-off, but I'm like, dude, we have to create this relationship. Have you posted this brand in the past 6 months or a year, or something that I can take to them and show them that you love them? No? All right. We need to show them that you love them. So while I hate saying it, if you're reaching out to them, a lot of times it's that way. If they're reaching out to you, it's a different story. It's like, all right, let's talk money. But I think if it's that way around, if you're reaching out and trying to create a relationship, in the beginning, it's like, it's definitely scratching their back so they can eventually scratch yours too. One more.
What would you say is a good amount to charge?
Initially?
Initially.
Well, I think it's going to depend on how many followers you have. I think if it's like 20 to 50, you can't do more than a couple of hundred. You really can't. If you have anything over 100,000, then that's when you could start talking into the thousand, perhaps. Yeah, and then see how it works. It's trial and error, guys. Like, I've been wading through this. It's like, and like just stumbling my way through for a really long time. So it's trial and error, I think, a lot of times. But once you're over the 100,000 mark, it seems to be easier to get like a more significant amount of money. Yep.
I was wondering, so I was like an influencer or whatever on YouTube for a bit and was doing sponsorships, and I realized eventually I do want to own my own business, like you talk about Rumi with RUMI or Kiara's Shoe Line and everything. Like, I'm not there yet with followers. Like, I feel that talking to brands and getting sponsored posts isn't stable for me income-wise. What would you recommend doing as some sort of business? While I'm not there yet, I couldn't do a brand's like partnership on a product or creating my own thing like that. In the meantime, while I grow my following and try to build a relationship with brands, do you have any recommendations for your own business, something you can run yourself and not be reliant on?
Yeah, I think that before you launch into your own line in any way, I think it's really important if you have a lot of brand relationships, I think it's really important for you to start with capsule collections. And if it's not like a multiple piece capsule collection, maybe it's like, okay, I work really well with this swimsuit line. Like, why don't we do a swimsuit together and see how it goes? Let them have the responsibility of like the manufacturing and the design and all of those things. You mood board, and if you could draw, like you could do that as well and like bring all your ideas together. But I think that before you launch into anything like that, like Rumi and I, like we did our first capsule collection for Ruka, like so long ago, like right when Erin Wasson did her first one. And so she figured out that she did like design, and we did some after that as well. And then that's when she figured out like what way she wanted to go into, even though you'll still talk to her and she'll be like, oh my God, this is like such a huge, massive undertaking. But I think it's a good way to start to see if that's actually what you want to do. You know, if you really want to invest the time in something like that. I think it's hard though. I think that with YouTubers, like I think that there's money that you could get like just ancillary from YouTube, and I think you need to reach out to them directly because there's a white glove service that YouTube has, and they'll help amplify what you're doing. If you don't already use it, you could reach out to them. I could also give you an email if you'd like.
Thank you very much.
You're
I'll
welcome.
come find you at the end.
You're right here.
Thanks for your insight. It's awesome.
Cool.
You touched briefly on conversion rates. And in our brand, we have a hard time deciding what type of conversion rate tools the industry prefers.
Yep.
different retailers like different conversion tools,
Yeah.
including affiliate links. And
Right.
so a little more insight on that would be fabulous if you have it.
Well, I think that it's tough for the brands also to try to figure out where the conversion comes from because you can't necessarily, I mean, swipe up with Instagram is good, but at the end of the day, you don't really know on the social where it's coming from. So I think, like you said, everybody is really specific. I think I have it from the influencer side. Like, we know the conversion on Instagram if we use like codes, if we use sale codes, you know what I mean? And it's unsexy or whatever, but I think people are getting more used to seeing those things. So when you request those, that definitely helps for your information to try to figure out who's driving what. So I can't say so much from the brand side and like what's going on when you're wholesaling, but from the influencer side, I like to, like, not all my girls love to do that, but I do encourage you to do that, especially when we're doing something longer term, so you guys could actually see, does this girl convert? Is it coming from her social? I mean, the blog stuff's easy. You know, you could see, use your own links to see, like, if you don't use, like, you could always cut the affiliate out to try to see the true conversion for you. But yeah, that's what I would suggest to do when you're using influencers. Yeah, is there anything else? Is that helpful? Okay, all right, cool. Okay.
Hi. There's so many different platforms. Which ones do you think are the most important and that you absolutely must try to build following on?
Well, I think it's always going to be Instagram. I think Insta Stories is really important. I think that blogs are still important to give a platform for more, like more photos, more content, those things. I think that's still important. I think that YouTube is important for those that do that. I mean, like I say, like, people, I mean, my son can't turn the TV on, but he could go on YouTube and he could figure out, and he knows who the celebrities are on that. You know what I mean? So I think that that's important if you do that. I think there's a space in this world for YouTubers to end up being in fashion. I feel like that conversion hasn't happened. Like, the YouTubers aren't necessarily sitting front row at shows yet. So I think that there's room for growth there. But it's Instagram. And I think it's also like, do what you do really well on whatever that platform is, and then build out from there. If it's Twitter with your words, still build out Instagram because it's important, but if it's not necessarily your most important, like if it's not where you shine, then it's okay for it to be a little bit weaker. But you gotta work on Instagram if you wanna connect with brands. Am I done? All right, cool. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey guys, hang on one second. I have a presentation. Hopefully you'll be able to see it and follow along. They're just gonna cue whenever they change it. So hopefully it's good information. And hopefully my hair isn't frizzing up. I have naturally curly hair, so these misters are like my worst nightmare. So I'm Morgan Kaye, and I'm the VP of Community at Bloglovin. Just to take a step back and kind of get like a show of hands, who's already monetizing either their blog or their social channels? Raise them high, please. Okay, cool. And can I actually, because that was like kind of half, can the people that aren't yet monetizing raise their hand? I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah, so it's about half and half. So I'm gonna do like a super crash course in like starting to monetize and like really what do you need to consider, sometimes even before you actually monetize. There's like a lot of buildup that you want to do before you actually take that plunge. So just to give you a little bit more background on myself and what I do, I've been at Bloglovin for about 2 years, and prior to that, I was at another influencer network for 5.5 years. So I've been working with influencers for almost 8 years, helping them connect with brands. My team is responsible for all influencer relationships. So that's, making sure that we get the right influencers for the right campaigns. We also run social. So we also do events and, any way to kind of connect with influencers like conferences like this. So who here, I'm curious, utilizes Bloglovin, whether you have your blog on there or you use it to read blogs? Awesome. So just to give you a little background, Bloglovin was actually started by 5 Swedish guys. They had just graduated high school, and their girlfriends were like, I want to start a blog. And instead of starting a blog, they actually created this RSS reader. So at its core, it's just this great destination to read up on all of your favorite blogs in one spot. And we have 4 million blogs being crawled on the platform. Like, just take that in. 4 million blogs is insane. 650,000 of which are actually verified. So they've actually identified that they want to work with us in a greater capacity. And we're really kind of pride ourselves on being the premier destination for inspiration. So, there's so much amazing content on there. And for so many years, we were just that. We were just an RSS reader. And then about 3 years ago, we were like, we're sitting on a gold mine. Like, we have all of these influencer relationships, and we're not doing much more with them other than providing traffic. So we hired a sales team, and we started executing branded campaigns for these influencers. We were doing everything manually, and that was kind of a headache. You can imagine all the emails that were going back and forth between all of these campaigns. And so about 1.5 years ago, we actually launched a new product, Activate by Bloglovin, and that is a technology platform, I will say, similar to that of Tap Influence and Revfluence, if you use any of those. The beauty of today's age of influencer marketing is that everybody is non-exclusive, including Activate by Bloglovin. So it does not hurt to be on several platforms. And as long as you can kind of manage that and manage your inbox and manage going to your dashboard and checking out campaigns, there's no reason that you shouldn't, honestly. Of course, I'm here to pitch Activate, but there's no reason that you shouldn't be diversifying and being on several networks. So I don't know if it's the $5 to $10 billion industry one, but I want everybody to take this in. They're predicting that influencer marketing will be a $5 to $10 billion industry by 2020. So that means that ad dollars are shifting from print and TV into your pockets. Like, that's huge. If that wasn't happening, I myself wouldn't have a job. You guys wouldn't be here. So, that is super important. And just some other fun facts. Actually, it was only a couple of months ago that Instagram announced that already influencer marketing is a $1 billion industry on their platform alone. Not even including blogs, YouTube, anything else, just on Instagram. I honestly don't know how they quantify that, but, and then 9 out of 10 consumers find influencers trustworthy and seek them out before making a purchase. You guys are, really inspiring people to make their products, purchases. And 84% of marketers expect to launch at least one influencer marketing campaign within the next year. And most people that have launched one campaign will be launching 3 the following year, just on average. So I just wanted to talk about that because to really drive it home that, even though you may only be doing one campaign here and there, trust me, it's just getting started and it's just growing. And we're growing, as a network, we're growing, as you guys are growing as individual businesses. So I always like to take a step back, why we blog. Monetization is such an amazing thing that has sprouted from, blogs and, content creators, but that shouldn't be the only reason that you guys are kind of in this business. Some of the most successful influencers are successful today because they started merely just because they wanted to inspire others and create amazing content. So, why we blog, having a creative outlet, being an inspiration, maybe amplifying an existing brand, having a sense of community, and then having monetization opportunities obviously has sprouted from that. And being able to maybe be your own boss, babe, and run your own company. I think, especially millennials, that is such, something to aspire to these days, is to work for yourself. I think that's everybody's goal these days. So when is the right time to monetize? Actually, it's simply in New York. JC from Damsel in Dior, I was so shocked, said she waited about 2.5 years until she started monetizing because she really wanted to take that time to perfect her content, build up her community and her engagement before she took that plunge. I actually received an email a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was like, I just started my blog yesterday. When can I start monetizing? And I was like, no. I don't even want to answer this because I don't want to burst your bubble, but You gotta wait. When at my last network, we actually told people you need to have your blog or your social channels for at least 6 months to a year before you even consider it. If I'm a brand, I don't want to just go to your Instagram account and see 10 posts, or even see like maybe 600 posts, but like half of them have been personal, and then all of a sudden half of them have been professional. Like, really take the time to build up your brand. Take yourself seriously. If you want the brand to take yourself seriously, like, you have to do the legwork. So, again, like, build up your traffic, your social, your engagement. Be business savvy. Conferences like this, like events like this, is so important to like do your due diligence to learn like, okay, what does it take to monetize? And like, how do I approach a brand? What do I need before you do it? Because sometimes you only have one shot, especially if you're reaching out to like your favorite brand. Like, you don't want to mess that up. You want to like maybe even practice on some like other brands before that, or work with networks so you can perfect your pitch before you do that. So, monetizing your influence. How do you do that? There are so many ways, which is really amazing. Display media, banner advertisements is kind of a dying breed, but I still like to bring it up because if you do have a ton of traffic going to your blog, it is a great way to monetize. Typically, those banner advertisements are paid on a CPM or a CPC basis. That means it's like cost per 1,000 impressions. So think about it. If you're receiving $1 per 1,000 impressions, you need a lot of traffic in order to generate something. So, but if you are a blog that has a ton of traffic, that's a great way to go. You also want to be like, you don't want to scare your readers away. Like, everybody's like, oh, banner ads. But there is a tasteful way of doing it. Like, Click Media Group has lovely display banners. I'm sure a lot of the top bloggers, you don't even notice it. They still have them on their sites. Native advertising is similar to that of display, but typically the CPMs are a little bit higher and they're a little bit more organic. So typically it's like custom content made to look like a blog post, but it's actually an ad. There's certain networks that you can work with that will help generate those native ads for you. But they're not as popular, but they certainly have a higher CPM. So again, if you have a lot of blog traffic, it's certainly worth looking into. I'm going to skip over custom content just for a second. I know Jennifer mentioned affiliate links, working with reward style or shop style, especially in the fashion and beauty space. It's a must, and from conversion standpoint, it is the only way right now that there is some metrics behind it. Typically they say 1% conversion rate is like pretty good. Those types of affiliate marketing are so seamless and it's so easy to kind of add in those tags that to me, if you're a fashion and beauty, it's a no-brainer. You should be doing that. And then co-branded partnerships. Jennifer also kind of mentioned this. It's, this is not something you need to be jumping into or should be jumping into immediately. This is like something down the line. You've already built up your own personal brand, and then you're ready to take the leap to maybe like co-brand, with Who, What, Where, or Nordstrom, or anybody else. That's a much further down the line goal, and obviously those types of partnerships can generate some good revenue. So going back to custom content, this is kind of the bread and butter of what we do. Sponsored blog posts, sponsored social posts, video, in real life events. We typically, as a network and most other networks, pay on a flat fee. Sometimes that flat fee is dictated by us. Sometimes there's actually a bidding. So we'll put it out there and we'll say, influencers, this is the scope of work. What do you, what's your rate? And then depending on the rate, if it's within our budget, honestly, that's what it comes down to. And if you're a good fit, we'll decide if, we want to proceed with you. So how to work with brands. So first and foremost, get a brand's attention. Start engaging with them, whether it be tagging them or linking them, just follow them. That engagement, especially on Instagram, goes such a long way. create a media kit. Pinterest is amazing for finding like really great media kit tools. And like Jennifer said, it should be no longer than like 1 or 2 pages. You want to be directly to the point. You want your stats. You want like, high-res images that, really represent who you are, maybe some of the brands that you've already worked with, your contact information. Oh my God, I can't stress enough make your contact information as visible as possible, not just in your media kit, but like in your social accounts. Because when brands are quickly looking for influencers for a campaign, if they can't find your contact information, they're moving on. I want a first name, last name, location, and email readily available. That is so important. And then perfect your pitch. Don't just reach out to a brand and say, hey, I want to work with you. Why do you want to work with them? What's your angle? Give an example of how you can maybe generate revenue for them or traffic for them or build their following. Actually pinpoint that and send along your media kit. Consider management for sure. You can't do this all on your own. A lot of people have either interns or a manager. Maybe not everybody is at that point just yet, but I always say, everybody asks, when is the right time to get a manager? I say when you're passing up opportunities because you don't have the time to do the contract or do something else, and it's taking away from creating content, that is the time to get a manager. You don't want to be doing just all business stuff and it, kind of your content suffering because of it. And then work with networks. There's no reason to do this on your own. You don't need to pitch brands and agencies on your own. There's a million networks like Bloglovin out there to help you get deals. And again, they're all non-exclusive. So it's why not? Most of them push emails to you. So you'll know if there's an opportunity that you're eligible for. And some of them, yes, you have to go on their dashboard and maybe you just make it a daily routine to go and check and see if there's any campaigns available. So what's your worth? It is a sticky situation. Networks are great because sometimes they dictate what the rate is. So you can kind of just, be like, okay, well, this is the following they're looking for. And you can learn by that, what your rate is. I always say your time plus your effort and the resources. Let's say you're a YouTuber. The cost per production is higher than that of a blog post. So, take all of that into consideration and then determine a rate. And then, really just take the next step. I can't stress enough, build momentum first. Monetization is such a great thing, but, I personally would not even consider it until I've been blogging or have my social channels for at least a year. That's my own personal thing. I'm not a blogger, but I've been working with bloggers for long enough to see that that's about how long it takes. Create a media kit, do your due diligence, conferences like this, it's so important. Know your worth, work with networks, there's no reason not to. And then don't oversaturate. That's a big thing. We get really excited, okay, there's all these campaign opportunities, but keep in mind you still need organic content. You can't just be spitting out sponsored content. Then you're actually becoming somebody else. You're not necessarily, you're becoming what the brands want, not necessarily what you sought out after. And then most importantly, just stay authentic, true to your unique voice. When we're looking to work with somebody, yes, there are people that are very similar. What is your angle? What is different about you? Why do I want to work with you? And make that very well known. Have a story behind you. And especially, and then, brands are getting so specific. We get requests we want a mom in Ohio that has 2 kids under the age of 4. And we're okay, but if you don't make that information known to us, we can't find you. So really kind of be unique and, talk about your life and showcase what is going on in your life stages, who are you, what's your background, because brands are getting pretty specific these days. So yeah, I did a really fast kind of deep dive on this. If you guys aren't a part of Bloglovin yet, both from a network perspective and also a community perspective, we pump out educational content on a weekly basis. So everything from like perfecting photography to like, you know, tips, or how to work with brands, or how to perfect your media kit. So like it's, you know, we're kind of a one-stop shop for influencers. So like you don't need to just work with us. We're really here to like help build to make you a better influencer, so that way like when brands do approach you, you're ready, and not just from Bloglovin's side, but like from brand direct side or working with other networks. Like our goal is to just like make influencers like a better community, like our influencers a better community, so like the quality is better, and then when brands do approach us for opportunities, we're working with the best. So any questions? No? I guess. Okay, the question, if nobody heard it, the question is, how does location affect your monetization opportunities? It means a lot, actually. You know, sometimes there's a broad request, like we just want fashion influencers that, you know, have a following of X. I would say about 70% of the campaigns that I'm seeing ask for location information. For instance, we're running an H&M campaign. I was actually struggling to find influencers because they wanted influencers in really random cities. But like, I bet you there are those influencers there. They just didn't make themselves known. So it's not, don't ever think if you live somewhere random that it's gonna hurt you. It actually might help you in the long run, especially if like it's not a large market. Yeah.
How have the expectations of brands changed over time? And what do you see that they're now expecting as a return from working with the influencers?
Yeah, so the question is, how have the brand's expectations changed over time? I think at first it was all about, influencer marketing was just about brand awareness. You know, it was just about getting, maybe it was a product that the brand was pushing and they just wanted to get, you know, more information out there to consumers about it. Now people are really asking about conversion. You know, what does this mean for me? So what does that mean for the influencer? It means make sure you have, you know, real followers, really. You make sure you don't have fake followers. You're not kind of, you know, faking your numbers at all, because it will now come back to haunt you. And to be honest, also, we're now even seeing when brands ask to work with influencers, they're actually now asking sometimes, what is their average organic content like engagement, and what is their average sponsored content engagement, because oftentimes they're very different. I'm sure you've seen it. Like somebody might get 2,000 likes on an Instagram picture that's organic and non-sponsored, and then all of a sudden they get 500 likes on a sponsored content. Well, brands are getting savvy. They're realizing like, okay, people aren't engaging as much with that sponsored content, so what does that mean for me? Yeah.
What metrics are brands using to evaluate the engagement? Are they just looking at likes and comments, or is there something else that they're looking at?
It depends on the platform. It could be anything from likes to comments to impressions. It really depends on the platform. Platform like networks like Activate, we pull in stats from everything. So I'm sure you guys have participated in a campaign where a brand will say, can you provide a wrap report? Like how many likes, how many followers did you get? Like what does this mean? Now platforms like ours actually analyze all that data and pull it in itself, so you don't have to do anything, and like kind of wraps in a bow for like a brand. And the one missing piece, honestly, is kind of, with the exception of affiliate links, is, you know, kind of that conversion piece, because there is no standard yet, but I wouldn't put it past the industry as a whole within the next 6 months for there to be more conversion kind of metrics out there and standards for us to start looking at and start thinking about. Yeah.
As a brand, how can I start using Bloglovin to interact with influencers?
Yeah, so we have for brands, we have managed campaigns and self-serve campaigns. So a managed campaign means that you'll work with our sales team and pretty much say, like, this is what I'm looking to achieve, this is my budget, and then we'll tell you, okay, we can execute a campaign with this many influencers, this is your potential reach. And then, especially if you have a limited budget, we could do some type of like test, campaign. And then if it's successful, you can always build up. But you can always hand select the influencers. We kind of just guide you in the right way. Our self-serve clients are more educated brands and agencies that have been doing this on their own and really just want a tool like, to execute hundreds of campaigns at one time. Yeah.
I was wondering if brands consider bloggers or YouTubers email lists at all, because I know for me I have an email list because I thought it's important to make sure I have some way to directly connect with my followers and not just rely on social media, which I never know could happen with my followers. Do brands look at that at all?
Yeah, so in all honesty, unfortunately, not that often. From a sales perspective, I've seen requests for newsletters, but like nothing under like if you have less than 250,000 like subscribers. So I'm like, okay, who has that? Unless you're like a who, what, where refinery, like who has that? But you should be utilizing that as just a way to build your traffic and get it, like pull people in. So it's not necessarily something that brands consider, but it is a really helpful tool to help you continue to build your following and your traffic so you can then charge more money. Yeah. So the question is, what are some key elements to include in your media kit? Certainly, obviously, first and foremost, like maybe your name, a little like one-liner, like really that states what you're about, your location, your contact information, your social stats, and images that truly reflect who you are. And then I always like to see brands that you've worked with. If you haven't yet worked with brands, that's okay. What brands do you love, or brands that you aspire to work with? So yeah, and like I said, there's like really helpful tools all across the internet. Even Blogettes has a really good PR media kit. A media kit tool, so you can look there. Yeah.
I've been using Bloglovin since like 2008, so I'm a huge fan. I have two questions. One is, how do you grow your following on Bloglovin? Because I think for some of the bloggers that focus more on long-form content, it's a really good tool. The other thing is, do you have a sense of what the breakdown is between the percentage of people that are on Bloglovin that are influencers versus just organic consumer of content?
Yeah, so to answer your second question, we have 10 million registered users, 4 million blogs being crawled, 650,000 blogs that are verified that have actually claimed their accounts, same as you would like Instagram. So it's about double the amount of readers as it is actually blogs on there. I think it's something like the average reader follows about 60 blogs, so it's quite a lot. And we have been a top 5 traffic referral source for really since like we started 10 years ago. In tips to kind of build your following, it's very similar to, we're not a social platform, but it's very similar to that of another social platform, like cross-promote. Talk about Bloglovin on your Instagram or on your YouTube. Say, follow me here at the end of a blog post. Follow me on Bloglovin. Also, visibility on the platform helps. So people see your activities. So the more that you're active, you're saving, you're reading other posts, the more you'll come up in other people's feeds. And also, one other thing, titles are like everything on the platform. Casey, who works with me, is like laughing at me because about a year ago, I was like, oh no, that's not true, but it is true. Things like, 10 of the best, or, your favorite places in LA, very, I hate to say it, almost clickbaity. It works though. If you look at Refinery and Who, What, Where and on Bloglovin, those are the things that are trending and performing the best.
Okay, I think that's actually all we have time
for.
Thank you
guys.
so much.